Hey everyone, welcome to CHEM&263. This is the last quarter of organic chemistry for science and engineering majors. We are expecting that you have had a full year of Gen Chem, Chem 162, 1, 2, and 3, because we, of course, are going to build on the concepts there, as well as Chem 262. I forgot to put that in here, but yeah, Chem 262 is the prereq, and then Chem 261, of course. So by the end of the quarter, you're going to have an exam on all of that material of the full year of OChem, and I'll talk about that. Course format is actually a mix of a hybrid course and an on-campus course. I have the same Canvas course for everyone, so everyone can watch the videos, everyone will get the announcements, but just be aware that half of the class meets on campus twice a week. You are welcome to stop by anytime or check out the lectures or take the exams with us on campus, but for the hybrid students, specifically those who cannot make it during the day, we have the lab section in the evening, and then there are ways to work around the exam times. So I will discuss that as well. With the schedule here, actually the Klein Edition 3 is a little bit different. I forgot that the chapter numbers switch by 1. So aldehydes, ketones starts on chapter 19. We're going to do chapter 20. We're going to finish up those and have our first exam week of October 8th, around that time. Okay, so that's going to be on these two chapters. Now here I made a mistake. This should be chapter 21. All right, and amines will be chapter 22. So I just made a mistake there. 22. There we go. So if you could correct that, that would be great. So obviously then you'll have an exam number 2 on those two chapters. And then I think it goes into chapter 23 with organometallic. I think we're just going to cover 2 sections of that. So I'll just include those 2 sections in here. Otherwise, in the third part of the course, we have amino acids, proteins, carbohydrates, lipids, and start transitioning into biochemistry. And a lot of students enjoy that. That's really fun. For that material, I usually have a take-home exam. Now, the ACS exam is a standardized exam we use for organic chemistry. And that's right here, the ACS exam. There is a special study guide booklet for that, which I'll point you to, but it's a multiple choice exam. It's standardized, meaning it's given to the nation, and so the averages are for universities, colleges, community colleges. It's usually around 50% is the average, so I adjust that and I throw away questions that we didn't cover and I readjust the scores. So your raw score doesn't count, but I'll have some kind of adjustment to account for differences in how we teach the course. But in any case, your raw score then is what you would use if you were to, translate the score or take it to another school or submit it for admissions. I would have to report the raw score. So it's in your best interest to study for that exam because sometimes it is used. I get contacted by pharmacy schools, or I had a student get into Berkeley recently and she needed her ACS score to see if they could waive some prerequisite coursework for her. And they did, because she did fairly well on it. So anyway, I'd be happy to talk more about that later. And finally, we have a final exam for our class on all the previous exams up until this point. So that's the final exam. And that's going to be more focused on the stuff we cover this quarter. So the ACS exam is cumulative over the year of OChem, but our final exam is mostly on what we cover this quarter. but what we cover this quarter builds on what you've had before, so it is really important to have a good foundation. The labs that we're doing are over here. So we did an intro safety and a review assignment the first week. I would like you to come prepared to do the banana oil experiment 13A next week. And then we'll proceed and we'll do some labs that involve understanding of the material we're covering. And the last part of this course, you get to put it all together using your knowledge of IR, NMR, melting point, boiling point. You're going to identify an unknown solid and an unknown liquid. And so I'll let you know as we get closer to that what you'll need to do to prepare and do well on that. This day here, I know a lot of people are going to be out of town, so I just left it open. If you want to use it to finish your unknowns, you can, but I've had most students be able to finish in 2 lab periods. But some people really do want that 3rd lab period, so if you can make it, I would try to just plan to be there, but if you just know that you want to have that day off, then finish it off these 2 weeks. So this period here is optional. And then our last lab period is a review for the ACS exam. I'm not sure if I'm sort of thinking it should be a required time for us to spend practicing. But please do talk to me if you can't make it that day. So our grades are going to be based on 3 midterm exams, one of which is a take-home exam. Comprehensive final weighs the same as the other exams. I'm not dropping any exams though, so if you can't make it to one of the exams, please let me know. For you guys are going to schedule your exams separately, so we'll talk about that. Here's the ACS exam, is worth half of a regular exam. So not too much pressure, but still enough pressure. You want to do well. 8 labs and a lab notebook. So mainly I do lab notebook checks during lab, and I do one big one at the end of the quarter. So hold on to your lab notebooks. I'm going to assign some practice problems from Klein, so those will be due for 20 points. Usually I just have some, like 10 problems or less from each chapter just to see that you're practicing, and then I check those off on the day of the test, or you can take pictures of them and just submit them in Canvas so I can just see what you've been working on. If you don't use the Klein text, you can use any other textbook. As long as you pick 10 problems on that topic, it's fine. Mechanism portfolio is something that I like to require students to have, and that's basically every time you see a mechanism, you write it down, and you have a record of all your mechanisms, so it's like a journal of mechanisms. So that way you can go back and study them, and hopefully you do that for Chem 261 and 262, so you have all your mechanisms from before, and add the new ones that we cover this quarter. I also like to ask students to make a list of the reactions they're covering, so they could study from that, and make a concept map where you have a starting material and you're showing all the reactions that you can do from it. So sometimes it's called a reaction tree, but a map is in terms of like alcohol goes to an aldehyde, goes to carboxylic acid. You can see all those transformations. So something that I'll show you an example of in class in the coming weeks. And then also on Canvas, please set your notifications to send out my announcements, and then there'll be some course evaluations you can do. All right, like I said, Organic Chemistry, David Klein, it's actually 3rd edition. This is something that we changed in the recent last couple years, so I forgot to change it here. We are still using the 4th edition Pavia lab text though. And for those of you who are struggling with finances or can't spend a lot of money on books, I would say at a minimum you could get the Organic Chemistry as a second language. It's a little pamphlet that David Klein wrote, and I've probably volume 2 is what you'd want for this class. But also we have the option of just the digital materials that everyone already paid the $40 for. I think that's a great option because it comes with the solutions manual as well, and you already paid for it. If you want to opt out of that, you can get the $40 or so back from the bookstore within the first 2 weeks of class. You just go to the bookstore website and look up our materials and click a button that says opt out. And you have to do that by Friday of the second week of classes. Then you get $40 back. However, I think the $40 is really worth it. You have access to the textbook and the solutions manual. So they're usually things that cost over $300 if you bought them. So I think in terms of your learning, it's a really good investment. And you have access to it for a couple of years. So it could be really helpful. All right. Of course, you need goggles. And I recommend a 3-ring binder, or actually our workbook is something I forgot to put on here because I wasn't sure if I was going to have it ready or not. So I would say at a minimum you'd want to get our workbook for CHEM&263, and that's available at the bookstore. Okay, otherwise I'll post the PDFs in our Canvas site and you can just use them digitally or print them out as needed. But the workbook is a really nice place where everything's bound together, all your notes. So those are at the bookstore, I think, for under $20. All right. Now, I mentioned the ACS exam that has a special study guide that's $20. If you want, several of you can share one, or I'm going to put a copy in the Science Study Center that you can check out. But there's also one at the library on 2-hour reserve. And this is a study, it's a booklet that will help you prepare for that cumulative exam. So it's got all these multiple choice questions in it, and it's got sections that review some of the big topics that will be on the exam. It also shows you the list of topics on the exam. And I've got a copy, so you're welcome to look at that. But you have to order that. It's not available at the bookstore, so you'd have to order that separately. So here's a link to that. And then you could fill in your information and get it mailed to you if you're interested. All right, our final exam time, some more information, and then lab safety, which we'll go over during lab. Okay, in general, if I have assignments due, I like to have a 24-hour grace period, so you can turn things in within 24 hours of when they're technically due, and it's not a big problem for me. And then here's some campus resources. I would prefer, if you had trouble, that you ask me first or email me through Canvas or leave your phone number and I'll call you back. Science Study Center is a nice place for small groups to get together and practice. This website will have a link to the schedule at the Science Study Center, so they'll tell you what days and times there's a chemistry tutor or instructor available who can help you as well. It's a really great resource. The Tutoring Center actually has 2-hour tutoring one-on-one for students who are struggling in this subject. So if you feel like you're really struggling and you want 2 hours a week, you can go there and sign up for a tutor. They also have drop-in tutoring. And then if you are coming to me but you need somebody, you need tutoring, you need someone who can devote more time to you, you can come talk to me. I have several students who've had me in the past who could help tutor you if you need that. And the last part that I forgot to mention is how the exams are done. So probably for those of you who have flexible schedules, maybe just coming in and taking the exam with the other class Tuesday afternoons. So right here, let me highlight those for you. So taking the exams here the week of October 8th, you could just come to class. We're in S324. Okay, so you could just come to class that day at 3 o'clock. We also have another exam here, so you could just pencil that into your calendar. Or if you can't come in during these times that we have class, In that case, I offer a proctoring service, so I can have you take the exam at the BC Testing Center. You just have to contact me. So I'll usually have something in Canvas where I ask you to let me know how you're going to take exam 1. You can either take it with the class or you could take it with the proctor service, and I would submit to them a list of names of students and when they're coming in. That would be the week of October 8th. So they're usually open like from 9 a.m. until 2 or 3 p.m. is when you can come in, and then they close at 5. So you have to come in like in the afternoon. If you can't get there that early or in those times that they're open, there's a North Campus Testing Center. They usually charge $35 per test, but they are open Saturdays all day, I believe. Another option is that I will try to schedule a time perhaps in the evening the week of October 8th when I can be on campus, and then you can take the exam with me that week. So I will look at my schedule and see what I can squeeze in for that. And so I'll get back to you as soon as I can. Other than that, good luck. I don't know if you've had organic chemistry in the hybrid mode before, but it does require a lot of self-motivation, self-study. We don't have the class time to work on practicing as much. So it's really important for you not to just watch the videos. That's like equivalent to just going to class. What you need to do is synthesize the material on your own, make your own study guides, practice as much as you can, do the problems, and try to ask for help when you need it. So really work on, one thing that I recommend is maybe try to set aside some time where you say, okay, I have Tuesday, Thursday, 8 to 9 p.m. I'm just going to make sure that I practice organic chemistry during those times. I mean, technically it's 4 hours of class a week, so it should be like 8 to 10 p.m. twice a week, or an hour a day, for 4 days a week at least, and then schedule some time to practice outside of that, of course. All right, well, good luck. I hope you will contact me if you have any questions, and good luck this quarter.